On the 9th of May 1945, Nazi Germany formally surrendered to the Soviet Red Army. German Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel signed what was called the German Instrument of Surrender, and he passed it on to Marshal Georgy Zhukov, who was the commander of the Red Army that captured Berlin. That signing of the Instrument of Surrender formally brought an end to the European leg of World War II. Every year, V-Day or Victory Day is celebrated with great pomp and fervor across Russia. The Russian army displays its most sophisticated weapons, tanks, missiles, air power, all of it at the main Red Square in Moscow. This year's celebrations will be very closely watched because of the ongoing military operation in Ukraine. According to some estimates, more than 10,000 Russian soldiers have been killed. Hundreds of military equipment have been destroyed, and the entire attempt to capture the capital, Kiev, has failed. Russian President Vladimir Putin has now given his top commanders 4 weeks' time to declare some kind of military victory. May 9th is his deadline, and Putin is desperate to show that some form of military victory has been achieved by then. On Crux Decode this week, can Russia declare victory over Ukraine in 4 weeks? And if that doesn't happen, what is Vladimir Putin's plan B? The Victory Day commemoration on May the 9th of the Soviet defeat of Nazi Germany is traditionally marked by a huge parade. It is a showcase of Russia's military might, and it passes through the main Red Square in Moscow. And this year, Putin wants to mark it with victory over Ukraine. Every year, the parade features armored vehicles, tanks, missile launchers, state-of-the-art weaponry, all of it proceeding past the Kremlin. Now this year, some of those tanks and armored vehicles have been ambushed, they've been wrecked, they've been captured in Ukraine. Russia's military is still claiming that the special military operation is going according to plan, but it's clear that Putin wants to frame a victory ahead of V-Day celebrations. The procession every year is attended by Russian veterans, generals, foreign dignitaries. It is broadcast across all 11 of Russia's official time zones. Citizens show their patriotic fervor by pinning orange and black ribbons to their lapels. That is a symbol of the Russian military. The Soviet Union, back during World War II, had lost 27 million people. They call it the Great Patriotic War. Today, Vladimir Putin is also calling the military operation in Ukraine as another Great Patriotic War. While Putin's popularity, certainly in the rest of the world and particularly in Europe, has plummeted with the start of this war, in Russia, the opposite has happened. His popularity has skyrocketed since the 24th of February. But even Putin realizes this war cannot go on forever. There may also be some strategic reasons as to why the Kremlin is so keen to progress this invasion to meet that deadline of Victory Day, or the 9th of May. According to some NATO estimates, Russia had sent in more than 150,000 troops into Ukraine. They've had to suffer about 10,000 fatalities. While some of the troops from Kiev and the northern city of Chernihiv have been called back, it's only a matter of time before they are redeployed to the east in Donbass. Also, Russia will be forced at some point, the longer this war drags on, at some point Russia will be forced to call in conscripts into active duty. And when that happens, when conscripts are fielded in duty, that is always a sign of desperation. Having failed to capture Kiev in the first attempt, the Kremlin is now moving its forces to surround and capture Luhansk and Donetsk. Those are the two Ukrainian provinces that make up the Donbass. Now, one of Putin's original justifications for this war was that the Russian-speaking people in the Donbass were facing genocide. The Kremlin has insisted that the assault on Donbass is merely this war moving into its second phase. If Russian soldiers are able to achieve this limited objective, that should be good enough for Vladimir Putin to declare victory. Putin's got to push some sort of major offensive between now and the first week of May. That gives him and the Russian military about 4 weeks When the weather is warming up, the ground is getting softer, Russian heavy armor have to hit the roads yet again. This, combined with mercenaries like the Wagner Group and the Kadyrovites, who owe their allegiance to the Chechen commander Ramzan Kadyrov, that should be good enough for the final assault in Donbass. At the beginning of this war, Russia had control about 1/3 of Donbass, and that was after an 8-year-long battle involving local forces and pro-Kremlin proxies and militias. Now, through this campaign, Russia has managed to increase its share of Donbass to about half of that province. That's not all. Putin is also making a valiant attempt to try and capture port cities like Mariupol and Odessa in order to get direct land access to the Black Sea. These two limited objectives, that is the liberation of Donbass and direct access to the sea, that should be good enough for Vladimir Putin to declare victory come V-Day. And in order to do this, he has appointed a new general, Captain General Alexander Dvornikov. He's been appointed by President Vladimir Putin as the overall in charge of the Ukraine special military operation. Now, some reports claim that Dvornikov is the mastermind behind the recent attack at the Kramatorsk railway station in Ukraine, in which at least 52 people died, including children. Dvornikov has been the commander of the troops of the Southern Military District. He led the Russian task force in Syria in 2015. Dvornikov is known as the Butcher of Syria. He's also accused of using cluster bombs on civilians in cities like Aleppo. Aleppo, remember, was the second biggest city in Syria. It was flattened to rubble. He's also accused of using nerve gas on the civilian population in some Syrian cities. The decision to bring in Dvornikov could be an acknowledgement of the failure to quickly capture Ukraine. The appointment of this new general also indicates Vladimir Putin's intent to continue this conflict for months, if not years. Apart from the immediate, Putin can also be scaling back his aims only to regroup and relaunch once again in the future. Now, his calculation is that the West could be bogged down in a few years' time. The current unity that you see in NATO, in Europe, with the United States, that could completely dissipate over the next few months and years. If Joe Biden gets voted out in 2024 and if Donald Trump comes back to office, then Putin could always try to relaunch Operation Ukraine, this time with the successful aim of trying to capture Kiev. After all, Putin in fact even changed the Russian constitution so that he can stay on in office till 2036. So he has time, at least for the next 15 years, to try and make his dream of capturing Ukraine a reality.